Call the, has the clerk call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Ronald Smith.
Here.
Molly Angevine. Here. Alex Bissett. Dan Britzko.
Here.
Bill Hudson. Walter Townsend.
Here.
Roger Whitley.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have enough to do business. I'll ask you to stand. I'll have our pledge. Did you just please? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, do we know about the other two? What or
I haven't had any contact.
anybody know?
I heard from Alex Bissett and he is not feeling well.
Okay.
I have not, I saw Bill was in the office earlier today, so I'm not really sure what's.
Okay, well, maybe he'll come in late. So, item number 4 on the agenda is called agenda modification. And, anybody have anything that they wish to add to the agenda that they don't see on the agenda?
I have something I want to delete from the agenda,
Okay.
the real estate tax section.
Okay. Well, we'll knock out 7A for the time being.
It's funny, I'm looking with the Roman numeral 7 and it's there.
I actually would also like to delete a section,
What this is that?
the closed session.
Well, I was going to get to that. I was going to say when we got down to that point, we don't need a closed session. And then I would explain the reasons why.
Okay.
So, don't mind, just need to let it stay as it is until.
I will approve the agenda as is.
Okay, so. And we have a citizen or two in the audience, does, anybody have anything on their mind they'd like to come up and speak about?
I don't think we have formally approved it. I second your motion.
Okay.
No, we just gave you a raise.
Feature, Mr.
And he's even had surgery.
Move it, quick step.
We'll ask the clerk to make a note that Mr. Heisen is here.
Mr. Bowling, did you play football practice today?
I did.
All right.
So, Ms. Angevine has made a motion to exclude the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been seconded by Dan. Any comments for discussion?
Well, what about the, we talked about the.
Okay. All in favor?
No, I mean, what about that issue about public speaking? Do we need to put that, is that consent?
I'm sick.
They speak first. Oh, you already did it. Oh, you did it. We're just about to do public. Okay. All right, we already, but that's already in there. Okay.
Now, any of our visitors in the audience wish to speak on any topic? Have 3 minutes, come forward, state your name, and we're all ears. And nobody answering the call, we'll skip over that now.
Just one quick question, actually. Have we gotten the Zoom up and running yet? I know it wasn't working a few times, so I was just trying to see. I have access to that. Is it working now? Okay, is it on the website still?
Yes, it's on the website.
It's. There in the. Okay. Okay, thank you. And it is, okay, good to know, you got it on the right. I think maybe, yeah, that's good to know. I think maybe if it had its own separately, you know, like a clear, larger links and then remote access for that, the link that You know, so it's very in that, it's confusing, you know, and it's a big verbiage, does that make sense? Thank you, I appreciate that, the, as it has, you know, great, I'm so glad that's fixed, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, everybody. That's all I wanted to ask you.
Okay, the town administrator has asked that we omit the 7A, talk about real estate taxes tonight, carry that over to next year. It's Madam Town Administrator, you wanna get into some of the items after one with the minute? Visual closure of bathrooms.
Did we want to do approval of the minutes under the consent? Or,
I thought we did that.
Did you make those changes that were in there?
yes,
Okay.
however. Yes, we made those
I made some
changes
changes, yeah, okay,
on the minutes.
yeah,
However, some of the information, we went back and listened to that. And actually, there was discussion on closing the bathrooms.
right, but I mean,
But they weren't.
They weren't underneath the
Right,
Parks and
it was,
Recreation,
right,
but
yeah.
I
that's
specifically.
what it was
saw-
out of word, it wasn't the
Okay.
park committee. that
Okay.
Yes,
talked
sir,
about those.
so I did make that,
Okay,
So
good.
that, yes, that correction was
and
made,
the amended minutes are in your packet.
Oh, okay.
yes.
Oh,
So they were approved.
So what you got for us, town administrator, you want to continue on that list?
Nice segue into the seasonal closure of bathrooms. I know that it was discussed a couple different times, I think that one of those times was in the August 11th meeting, work session. And so then recently, when the bathrooms were closed, I know, there were some questions like we were closing the bathrooms a little bit too early. And anyway, I think with it being that cold, we did have a cold spell early on. That it was. I don't really understand, you know, what the issue was about closing the bathrooms early. Jam blows the water out and then puts some type of marine treatment in the water line. Those bathrooms are not heated, nor are they insulated, so none of the water lines are protected from the cold. And I know that I provided some information at the time that the bathrooms were closed. Anyway, and I don't know if there's any.
Yeah, so I wrote about that, I'd like to speak to that a little bit, and I think they, you know, what's cold, you gotta protect, you know, that, I think that's great. My issue is that they should be, water should be, I think they overdid it with pulling out the plumbing and everything, we've never done that before, but I think it should be judged on not, the time frame, but on the temperature. So the concern I have is that it was only used once a month or maybe twice a month. And, you know, if the water could just be turned on and turned off and they could still be used. But anyway, beyond that, I like the fact that you put a sign up and you got a porta potty there. I guess we got to pay for that. But I don't like the fact that we're still dependent on Albemarle County for the bathrooms. And, you know, when we used the food pantry, that, you know, we like people to get in and get out real quick so they could, they're only working there for 3 or 4 hours. So, you know, that last couple of years, what we did is we just turned on the water for those days and then turned it off, you know, and usually it was pretty nice, you know, it wasn't like bitter cold. So, you know, anyway, but beyond that, I'd like to see if we could have, find a way to, keep them, at least one of them open year round. And what I'd like to see if you could get a couple of bids and see what it would cost to do that. And we could get I think we get a grant for that. We got a couple of grants last year, the last couple of years for that. And the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank would probably pay for that. We got a couple and get, you know, a plumber's opinion about how we could do that or even temporarily open it. I mean, I think there's heat tape, there's lamps. There's insulation. And they paid $10,000 to get the parking lot done last year. So I think we could get some money to keep that. I just think public bathrooms are a great resource, and if it's bitter cold, I'm sure we could close them off, but there's a lot of times they're closed, and it's nice out there. And I think part of the problem has been maintaining them, cleaning them. People don't like to maintain and clean them, but so anyway, I think there's some gray areas there we could work with, and I think we could make it so we could have not the Canal Basin Square ones, but the ones at the farmers market. That I've seen people could go there with their kids and they just park right there and they just jump out, and it's so convenient compared to going, okay, well, got one over to Albemarle now, or go to the tavern. And
There's bathrooms right beside the farmer's market bathrooms that are.
yeah, just that.
Heated.
They just one of it even.
Year round.
Yeah, even if you just
Albemarle
did
County
one of them,
there.
and made it,
Mr.
and
Mayor,
we could get some money for that, I think, to do that. I think that would say a lot for taking care of the public like that. I think that'd be nice to have that.
Mr. Mayor, question for you. This is actually, I was gonna ask former Councilor Payne a question about something. So he's been, what did we do, Mr. Payne, in the previous years with those bathrooms? I know you had some involvement with them. Were they closed on winter, or were they not closed on winter? What did we do?
I don't remember them being open all winter. I do remember we closed them for the very reason the bill just stated. And because of the winter weather, we didn't look at the temperature. We just said the closed here to be open in the spring, and that was it. And then, of course, they were cleaned by somebody else besides maintenance.
Okay, thank you. That part of the reason I'm mentioning is I had been under the understanding that we were closing them for the winter. I did not realize there was a discussion about them opening.
Well, we didn't do that the last 2 winters. We had them closed, but they were able to be open as needed. And and closed afterwards. So it's just, and they weren't dismantled, the plumbing wasn't taken out and all that. So it's different this year, and I think it's they still can be used. It's just a matter of
Well, she was just mentioning he was closing them down for the winter.
Yeah.
So we're not saying the same thing, and so
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
trying to.
yeah, it's a little different. Yeah.
Listen to Councilor Gritstone, Councilor Hutchinson. I think it's a great idea that we would be able to, keep them open year round. But with the current situation we have, especially if there's no heating in the bathroom, the plumbing is not correct. I believe by leaving the restrooms open, it would put us at a risk of having to pay emergency fee to get them prepared if the pipes do both. Maybe waiting to the warmer months and revisiting the issue and see what it will cost to update it for the next following year. I think that'd be a good idea. I don't know the exact cost, but I believe it may be cheaper for the town to rent porta potty for the time being, and
What is the cost?
if we were to keep them open.
What's the cost associated with a porta potty?
Um,
Well, last meeting there was a report.
I think it's like 100, maybe $100
Yeah.
some dollars, something
I
like
wasn't
that.
sure.
So an emergency plumbing bill would be very expensive, because if the water starts leaking, you gotta get out there, you gotta send a guy in, and in my experience, it's the city of Charlottesville, and a lot of times when water pipe bursts, it's usually gonna be middle of the night, or early in the morning, and it's just, it's never gonna be convenient. So I think what we should do is to let keep them close to the winter, maybe do the porta potty thing. It may be a cheaper alternative right now. I do understand where you're coming from to make things accessible for the residents. But if we were to turn the water on and back off, and for us to pay for the time and the material to treat it every time we turn it off, I mean, that cost does add up a little bit.
Sounds like Councilor Antoine, you have some thoughts.
No, I'm just
Oh,
listening.
So my suggestion is that we take Councilor Heights' suggestion, but maybe what I think would be the best I think it would be in the best interest of the town for us to deal with the plumbing and look at the future in the warmer month, but for the time being,
Yeah, for this year, it might be fine.
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
think we
thinking
should
like
go ahead and
down the road, it'd be
close
good to
it down.
get some quotes, see what, they have grants next month. And, so we may be able to get a grant to, fix them and
Well,
it depends how much it is.
Money.
So with our current budget, I just don't think it's gonna be feasible to take a chance on opening it up and closing it, open it up and close it, because if the pipe bursts, I can tell you it's not gonna be cheap for a plumber to come in and fix it. I mean,
I'm not, just to go, thank you, everybody, for this comments. All I was trying to say is, we were saying the opposite, that, they were having, so it seems at the moment, what you were explaining, our town administrator, that we're setting the winter plan in motion. And it sounds like we're all mostly in agreement with doing that, but Councilor Heisman, you raise a good point. There can be situations in the future that we might need to consider a different plan. That's not the plan at the moment, but it's possible we have a different plan. And I think what you're also suggesting is we look for other ways to add finances to that issue.
The only thing I was gonna mention is that weather is so unpredictable now. We had some really cold snaps and then warm. You'd hate to really leave it to chance on it.
Yeah.
So it could be that it was for the purposes of getting that.
So we'll work on a plan for next winter, okay?
We'll maybe get some quotes from a plumber, see what it would cost them to do that.
All right, item C.
So I was proposing a new section,
Which is,
10.11. To add this to the personnel policy. And it just explains what happens when there's a separation of duties, members of the planning commission and the ARB. And those members shall submit a written letter or email resignation. And then upon receipt, the town administrator lets town council know that the person has resigned. Anyway, that's what that policy is. It talks about if someone later wishes to return, they must complete a new application and take part in the regular selection. And then it also addresses, it's added in appendix 3, the policy on resignations and appointments.
Well, I think that, certainly look at those things, but, government services spent a lot of time on the resignation policy and presented something that was passed by the council, so I don't know why we need to change that now, when it's only been in effect less than 6 months.
Is it in the personnel policy?
I don't know if it's sort of been, but
Well, the intent was to put it in the personnel policy, basically.
yeah,
The council did spend a considerable amount of time going through that. And I know the government services committee also had some input before that happened. I'm not sure, Elizabeth, how much different that really is from what you proposed,
Right.
but maybe in sorting it out, that looks like that can easily be done.
Okay.
And the policy that they adopted on resignations should be incorporated into the personnel policy, as you said. But then there's some other things in here, you talked about appendix 4. And I can't really find any appendix 4 as to what the substance of that is. So I don't think we should be including something unless you're actually going to put it in the personnel policy. Do you follow me?
Right, well, I've already put it in the personnel policy.
Right, but I can't find what appendix 4 is. That's not what's laid out
Okay,
that you're talking about. You're talking about resignations for ARB and planning commission, which town council just got through addressing. as the chairman, Mr. Heisen pointed out, but I'm talking about this thing called Appendix 4 Personnel Policy Draft Changes. I couldn't find that anywhere.
Okay, maybe it's,
I couldn't find what that is, and if I can't find it, then please tell me what it is, but if it's just adopting the changes in resignation of the policies, that's fine, but I couldn't find it.
So, yeah, so I think, yeah, she's gonna say that she thinks it is the preview compared to the policy investigation.
So Appendix 4 is Appendix 3,
Yes,
but then
just
it,
mark off.
yeah, it needs, that all needs to be straightened out, so
Yes, sir.
it's clear. That was my confusion.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Kind of.
4 is 3, 3 is 4.
okay, so we're good at, as far as. You wanna add it to the personnel policy, but I have to look at what government services committee.
Compare and see how different they are, and then we'll make a compromise.
And it wasn't government services, town council actually adopted.
Yeah, right.
Government services presented it, they did the research.
Right.
What the background was, we had a planning commissioner that said I resign, but not for another 3 weeks.
Okay,
Or they changed her mind, then she
Yeah,
changed her
they
mind.
said,
Oh, I guess I'm not gonna resign.
They said, I
Well,
will resign.
there were circumstances.
And,
And somebody, and meanwhile, somebody had applied and, or a couple people had applied and we had to say, well, I'm sorry, change your mind, please.
Mr. Hyde's committee did a good job on coming up with something that would work, so don't want to just toss that out the window.
no, I was not even aware that, that was already done. I certainly don't wanna do double work, so.
Okay, you're gonna speak to noise ordinances?
Chief, do you wanna speak to noise ordinance or?
I'll be happy to. Good evening, council, mayor, how are you all?
Better than you're here.
Okay. Thank you for saying that. Council, I've had an opportunity to work with the town administrator and the town attorney regarding the noise ordinance that might be acceptable for council's approval. After a lot of back and forth between the town attorney, the town administrator, and myself, Mr. Bowling actually submitted a noise ordinance from the town of Blacksburg that realistically, in my view, really captures everything that I would recommend to council for consideration. Minus the, Mr. Bowling really likes the decibel meter as part of the ordinance to measure the noise itself. However, I think, looking at Blacksburg's policy, it covers all of the criteria minus the decibel readers that we're looking for. I'm hopeful that all council members had an opportunity to read this proposed ordinance. With Mr. Bowling's input, we made a few changes to Blacksburg's and added a couple of words here to make sure that we had verbiage in there like plainly audible. Some of the things that might get challenged in the future. I did take the liberty to, in case council did want to include a decibel reader in the policy or in the ordinance. A decibel reader with the calibrated unit is going to cost us about $650. Before we would be able to do any of the noise readings. One, if we got a complaint, I'm assuming that we would be able to leave it with the patrol officer, they go off shift, give it to the next patrol officer, that type of stuff, or leave it at headquarters, get a complaint, you have to go back and get it. But they're pretty pricey. However, I think this ordinance from Blacksburg does cover what we were looking for. Mr. Bowling, you have anything additional you'd like to add?
Well, if you're gonna have a noise ordinance without a decibel reader, this is the one to adopt. However, if you really want to avoid all legal challenges, then you need a decibel reader. And the reason for that is, there was a Virginia Beach case called Tanner versus Virginia Beach, I think, but I could be wrong on that. And they said it was, the ordinance was unconstitutionally vague. I think we've cleared up a lot of the vagueness in most areas by making sure that the officers have tape measures in certain cases to make sure that they're sufficient distance from the emanating sound that's in violation. And also I get the sense that the chief is really addressing the problem of vehicles that play loud stereos. And trying to address that too, where decibel readers really aren't practical. Given the circumstances of patrolling officers and the number of officers you have. Am I correct, Chief?
Yes, sir. You're spot on.
So if I tell you, you got some legal risk here, but if you want to be able to regulate sound, and if you rely on a heavy dose of exercise of common sense by your police officers, then you'll be okay until you're not. Okay?
My thing is, with the decibel meter, that's fine, but from what I've read, a lot of it's gonna be perception. Town of Scottsville is unique. We got that hillside there, we got the buildings here, so sound's gonna travel different. Now, maybe or maybe not, decibel meter may pick it up. But then again, I mean, the way the geography is in Scottsville, they cannot take a logging truck, for example. They can hit the Jake brake down there at a schemed auto place, whatever. You can hear it down here just as clear as day. Now, is the decibel meter down here gonna be able to pick that up over there? No. So, I mean, I believe it to be, y'all, the officer's discretion or whatever. If somebody wants to argue with it.
You can't really make it officer's discretion. That was found to be unconstitutional by the Virginia Supreme Court, sir. That's the trouble here.
Well, I think that the ordinance does outline
Objective standards.
objectionable standards for the officer to adhere to. What we're noticing in the town is these big vehicles. I'll give an instance. There's a orange Tahoe that comes through town, opens up the windows in the back, did it for Halloween and started playing, the Halloween songs and stuff in a very, very high decibel. Come back through town 3 or 4 weeks later, and I was like, yeah, that's enough. Stopped him, he asked the question, do we have a noise ordinance? Well, we do. But I just don't have a decibel limit,
Yeah.
right?
We
My discretion.
don't have a noise ordinance now.
I thought we did.
No.
It's a decibel.
We went through this before about 8 years ago. And
We have a noise ordinance, but it only refers to parks.
yeah.
So I talked to the guy and look, man, you just need to tone it down coming through town. It makes the windows rattle and everybody else get very upset. One of our young teenage boys that lived just outside of the town, same thing. Spent probably 45 minutes with that kid and said, where do you put it now? And he put it up and I was like, okay, cut it back. And we found an agreed upon level that would be acceptable for a young person to come through town and, not get people so wound tight that they're ready to pull him out of the truck. It's not that we're looking to try to stop people from enjoying the music in their vehicles, but we also get people at the Food Line Shopping Center, and these people are going through the center with the noise so loud that people can't come outside. And I've watched them, and they're like, and they see the police, well, why don't you do it? People coming up and down Valley Street, it's the same thing. Windows are rattling, buildings are shaking, and there's really not a lot we can do. So that's why we really started to explore the noise board to try to give us a little bit of teeth. So if someone just absolutely refuses to adhere to what the ordinance says, that we would have the ability to be able to make a charge if necessary.
Question about the decibel readers. Do they have any remote ones that
All of them.
set off remotely?
Mhm. All handheld, there are so many different models.
Up the hill,
Yeah, I
But-
would agree.
Did you all talk about signage at all? Would there be some signage saying this town does not allow you to use your Jake brakes or whatever?
Well, if they did pass the ordinance, I think correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, town of Gordonsville, they have signs that have, gate breaks are not allowed, what, 24/7, whatever.
Yeah,
For us, we would have to put, I guess, what, 10 p.m. was, if we said 10 to 7 or whatever. Because if you didn't have that, that could be argued in court. Somebody drive through, I didn't see no signs saying.
Well, you don't need signs under a noise ordinance.
It's in the proposed
ordinance.
It's in the
Chief.
proposed ordinance.
they'll have signage.
No, well, for its jailbreak enforcement is
Yeah.
the very last
Yeah.
section.
Get a chance.
I think it's real sensible and covers everything real thorough. To me, and it gives you some leverage, I think start there. I don't like the idea of having signs with decibels, reading that kind of.
A decibel-
Just start with that, just start,
Reader's definitely gonna require you to have it calibrated for accuracy.
yeah.
And it's gotta be calibrated every, what, couple months or quarterly or every 6 months to ensure that it's calibrated and it's picking up the proper decibels so people aren't being improperly changed, right? And then in the ordinance, you're gonna have to have the different decibel readings for the violations. To be able to give officers the ability to kind of go through and I don't know, I read this, I thought it was brilliant. You sent me this Blacksburg one. It was awesome. I read it and I'm like, wow, that's everything that we were trying to put together, Elizabeth and Jim and I, and it's already in place in the town of Blacksburg.
It seems like that given all the students that are in Blacksburg, that's had ample opportunities to be tested out.
I would think.
It seems to still be on books, at least Google says.
Chief, Debbie?
If this was to go into effect, the
Pardon me.
violations and stuff, the fines, would they be made payable to the town of Scottsville or just the county of Albemarle and grab up?
They could come to the town of Scottsville.
If they would go, if it had to go to court, it would go to Charlottesville, which is in.
So on our summonses now today, we have Scottsville on them. And it also falls under the Scottsville Town Code. So any fines and fees that are assessed by any of the courts on a conviction automatically they'll go to the county first. Their finance department will then package it up and send it down here to the police department, the town police department. That's how we pay for all of our digiticket stuff. Digiticket is all fee-based through the court. So if we charge someone for a violation, they're convicted, there's a $5 fee that council had approved back when Chief Lowwinkle was here to assess a $5 fee for that conviction. So those $5 fees come back to the town and it comes back to the police department for any hardware, software, anything related to digiticket. That's how we buy all of our digiticket paper, printers, our yearly subscriptions to digiticket for the maintenance and stuff like that on the system. So the users actually pay for the system.
This was just kind of piggyback line on the same thing.
So it would come back to the town.
No, you said it was $5, it's not 100% of the fine.
If we put the town code in there, it's gonna come back to.
Chief, just to follow up, two comments to you. First of all, thank you for
I think
all
all
the work, Mr. Bowling, town administrator. I say this to the citizens and also to us, we have to balance individual liberty really in two directions. One direction is we do not want to be a town that is repressive of individual liberty.
Yes.
On the other hand, we do not want to have be a town where people's individual liberty is infringed upon.
Yes, sir.
And that tension isn't easy. It's not an easy thing to do to come up with the right balance. And I would say just recently, you and I have talked about this before. It's been noticeable that there's been a need. We've had this happen over the years where we've had instances where things have gotten out of hand, and ultimately we want you to have a tool that you feel comfortable with. And maybe I would also say to the citizens, if we give this a try and some reason we've made a mistake, you can change, you can adjust this. So this idea of trying to come up with a balance that we think are in due diligence and in good faith, we need to give you a tool so you can do something. at the same time, we're open to people that please give us your opinions. Not everybody's gonna like it, that it exists, but we can't make decisions based on 100% approval, so to speak. We have to do what protects our citizens. So I would just say this seems a wise policy, seems a necessary policy. Wish it wasn't necessary. I myself can be too loud at times, and it's helpful. No, I mean, I'm saying we all have moments in life where I think it would be wrong to me to say, this is not about those loud people. I can be one of them too. We just need to work together, and I think that's ultimately what you're saying is you're not intending to do this so that we're gonna get fines.
Yeah,
We're intending to do this so that we can say, to like you did to that person, hey, this is a town. If you want to play loud music, play it off in the mountains. Turn it down a little bit when you come through town, so to speak.
It's just Valley Street. You know, these kids can go out here on the outskirts of the town and it's fine. It's, but when you're coming through this business section here, as many council members have already said, that the sound just echoes through this bottom here and I get a lot of complaints about it. And once you stop and you talk to the folks and, you know, you let them know, hey, it's gotta be reasonable. I would also say it's forward thinking on our part when we have these new subdivisions getting ready to come here and people are a lot closer. You know, I think this really does address, you know, those smaller lots that we're getting ready to get faced with in the town. Right now, as it is, we don't have a lot of, I wouldn't say leverage, but you don't have a lot of teeth to anything to be able to enforce noise in the town. And I think this gives us a little bit of that teeth and backbone.
You know, one of the things, and I'm gonna say this also, I'm gonna just give me a second to be a little bit of a boring historian, but have y'all ever heard of a term called an acoustic echo? Y'all ever heard? I had not heard of this. And so the Battle of Five Forks, April 1st, 1865. General Pickett is a Confederate general who doesn't hear the battle that's taking place, and he doesn't hear it. He's very close to it, but there's a bunch of woods, and he's down in a low area. And basically, the Union cleans his clock that day because of this acoustic echo. When you look at the topography of our town, it's real obvious. When you look at the bluffs up there in the Vantage Nature area, it's going to reflect anything this direction. In other words, if you just think of how acoustic waves go, the way that the lower part of this town is and the bluffs around it, it is a very strong resonation, so to speak. So it just means if you were a flat area out in the middle of nowhere, the sound waves would not be as powerful as they are here. And because of that, we have a very unique bowl that you have to deal with, that we have to deal with, in our main area of town lines up with it. Again, you walk along the bluffs over there and you see it on the other side too. We're in a low spot here. In simple terms, the audible sounds are stronger. And so we just have to balance that. And I was just on a walk there just a few days ago and just was reminded about that. And it just means we have to pay attention to this issue more than we might have to if we didn't have the natural topography that's about.
I know the mayor and I have talked about this many times, and I know many years ago it was decided that the town didn't need an ordinance. I think we're at a point now that we absolutely need to consider something like this to help offset what's potentially come for us and what's in front of us today. I think at the last work session we talked about, I had 13 noise complaints for the first 10 months. So that's a little over one noise complaint a month that our officers are getting in the town. And, you know, we just really need to be able to have a way that we can address the noise. And for those that don't want to be cooperative, at least have something that we can fall back on from council and say, okay, well, we're gonna charge you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, you had a question.
This is based off of Blacksburg. Do they use decibel readers?
No, sir. What you see
How
here
long, well,
is what Blacksburg.
without decibel readers?
Yes, sir.
And you know how long they've been using this?
Now, that's a good question. I don't know.
Just in case it's, you know, it lasted for a number of years, it's kind of holding up, holds real
My
water.
memory serves me correct. It's been in place for quite a while, but
Right.
Mr. Whitley, I can't tell you
Okay,
exactly
just,
how long without it.
Yeah, just-
Looking at
I'd have
it.
to
because I would imagine there's some people with challenges at some level.
I'm sure, like Mr. Bowling said,
Okay,
being a college town, they've caught
yeah.
a challenge.
oh, yeah, just.
But I can find out. I
Okay.
can let you know if you'd like.
If it's been in place for a while, it seems that it would hold water. And it's not, you know. It's got the mechanisms that we need. That's all.
I just want to point out, or I don't think anybody noticed, but a majority of the noise ordinance is not just to make, make it easier on us to live. It's a big safety, it's a big safety reason. You have somebody running down the road with the radio turned wide open. It may be an emergency, it might be a fire, it might be a car wreck or something, and there's an officer or ambulance or a fire truck behind these people, and they're sitting in there jamming, they cannot hear what's going on. So it's more of a safety thing. Yeah, like you were talking about the acoustical resonance or whatever, if somebody got the music blaring off the building, someone might be trying to get ready to cross the street, but the noise is so loud that the confusion. I just think it's more of a safety issue, and I'm really for it. Not because I don't hear that well, but I just think it's a good idea.
Let me ask, those 13 complaints, were those mostly for cars and exhaust and, yeah.
Well, they're noise complaints, whether
Complaints,
it's a
but what do you say
residence.
about automobiles?
I will just real quick, one of our young folks going through the shopping center was playing some music that he felt wasn't offensive.
Right, right.
But as he's going through, it's extremely loud. And some folks coming out of the grocery store said, you know, why is he playing that type of music?
Right,
And where my kids can hear that, you know, and
right, yeah, there's cussing.
I'm not a judge of what's offensive and not. But when you have complaints of our citizens that are coming into the town or and shopping, they're making these comments, but yet there's not a lot that the police can do. And I would just ask town council to consider this ordinance and maybe take it up for a vote so we can put it in place and move on with it.
Then, Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we do enact this ordinance.
I want to comment before.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned there's a lot about the automobiles, but you know, I'm in the town and where I am in residential, and of course, we're gonna have a residential area there. I think the concern over the years for us and will be with amplified music. They have on this K amplified sound. Like there's been problems over the years at the tavern, at some of the restaurants, and also neighbors playing amplified music. It's not cars, it's just they have their parties. And you know, this whole thing about plainly audible at 50 feet. Any amplified music is going to be audible at 50 feet. That's why you have amplified music. So what I'm wondering if with events and establishment, if there should be some sort of time frame.
We do have a time in there.
Is it a 10, not after 10
10
o'clock?
o'clock, 7
Okay,
a.m.
there is, okay, then I missed, okay, good. I'm
One of
good.
our businesses at the shopping center. had
Okay,
just
there
what
is.
you were talking
That's separate?
It's in here,
Oh, it is,
10
okay.
o'clock.
Oh, yeah, there it is, okay,
And they were bringing speakers out on.
okay, yeah, good, I got that. I
In the
missed that.
middle of, I guess it was 5
Yeah.
o'clock, and I mean, it was extremely loud where it was being heard
Okay.
down here in town. And people complaining about it.
Okay,
Finally met with the owners and the management, finally got that changed. But it does happen.
yeah, well, this is good.
One thing they've done, chief, is that some ordinances set up procedures where if you want to have a party, you can get a party permit.
Okay, yes, sir.
And that may be something that you have to do in the future if you've had problems, that sort of thing.
Yes, sir. And it does exempt sponsored activities, 4th of July, the fireworks, parade, things like that. Any town sponsored special event, it's all exempt under the exemptions part of it, so. I think we've really tried to cover it. I know Jim has been very gracious with his time and gone through it relentlessly back and forth with Elizabeth and I, just to try to make sure we got it. You know, we want to be fair with everyone, but we also need to make sure that we protect those from the harms of loud noise as well.
I think.
It looks like the Blacksburg ordinance has been in effect since 2009.
So sometime.
Can the decibel meters be obtained through a grant or anything?
Sir,
Can the decibel meters be obtained through any type of grant? Or
It's-
what do the town need to do to help you get that? How many would you need?
He's not
One
getting
per
it.
officer?
We're not gonna get
He's
it.
not gonna get any.
We decided not to do that.
Well,
Are you proposing that we do that?
well, if you, Mr. Boland had said that, you know, if you don't have that, it could bring up legal issues.
Yeah, but
Somebody can challenge it.
That's right, but that's risk analysis, but that's what town council's here for. I just wanted to make you
Right,
aware
right.
that the ordinance is not perfect. And if you want to make it so that you can withstand just about any legal challenge that comes along right now and get decibel meters, but I think it's possible, at least at Blackburg is an example, and should be, to set it up without decibel meters. As the chief will tell you, I think that I gave him, he's been overly generous in his praise. I gave him a hard time about establishing the noise ordinance, because I think he realized that the money wasn't there to have a decibel meter to really make it work. But you needed a noise ordinance for the reasons that he's talked about today. So he's laid out the procedures for you, and if he exercises a healthy dose of common sense, you should be okay. And if you're not, you can always get rid of it.
Mr. Bowling, just to follow up on what you said, and also to follow up with you, my fellow town councilor, I think. A decimal meter, and correct me if I'm wrong, chief, as I say this, in a sense, if we had one, we had an unlimited budget and we had the unlimited resources, it's more accurate. But the process to actually have an instrument like that, to maintain it, would be very expensive. And so this ordinance is created so that we don't need that. It's created specifically so that they have a tool that's not burdensome. I do think if we had the decibel meter, it'd actually be more difficult for them to do it, because they would have to calibrate something and then they would have to have it. This is set up. The nice thing is, in life, most of the time, things are better when they're simpler. This doesn't require us to have the decibel meter. And so I want to use an easy tool. To me, this tool is one that does it. So although it would be better to have it, if we had unlimited resources, we don't. And this tool, I think, is a wonderful one. I'm going to come back again and say, I'd like to recommend that we pass this as it is.
Let me go forward. I haven't asked for a motion yet.
Sorry,
There's no
okay,
motion.
sorry, okay, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
First, Mr. Bowling, do we have to have a public hearing on this since it's an ordinance?
If that's what your policy's been,
Yeah,
I
so
mean, you legally, that you don't.
what my
Have to, but
suggestion,
what you've been doing is doing that, I call it, it's not even an overabundance of caution, it's almost a tradition. That's what you've been doing.
so my suggestion is everybody read this thing over the holidays very carefully. At the work session in January, we'll discuss it, and if we need to have a public hearing, we'll schedule one. If we don't, we'll vote on it in January. Okay,
perfect.
now since you have the floor, you want to take item E?
Yes, sir. Council, thank you for entertaining me once again. First of all, I'd like to say, I apologize to this council for not being here at the last public hearing. I understand an individual come to town council to talk about a flop camera system in the town of Scottsville. With that being said, if I'd have known that that person would have been here, I would have certainly made sure that I was here and provided council with an opportunity to ask them questions about, or any concerns council might have about the flop safety cameras that we've had in the town now for almost a year. With that being said, I know the individual very well that come into council at this meeting last month. Took the liberty to reach out as I tried to find out what his concerns were. I couldn't really pinpoint what the concerns were. So I called him and I asked him point blank, what was his concerns about the flock safety cameras? And he gave me 3 reasons. The first reason was that flock camera took a picture of a license plate and gave it to the officers. Officers did a stop of a vehicle, took the occupants of the vehicle out of the car at gunpoint, handcuffed them, only to find that the occupants in the vehicle was not a stolen vehicle, and occupants of the car sued the jurisdiction, was awarded millions of dollars. Second concern he had was that a chief of police in the Kansas area was utilizing flock safety cameras for tracking his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend. And then most importantly, the third reason being was that the cameras could be hacked. And he quoted John Gaines, did a white paper, is the way he said it, and is the person that I really should look at. And then there was Ben Jordan. He did a video on YouTube about flock safety cameras and how they could be hacked and that type of stuff. So he made the comment to me, those cameras need to come down. I'm like, and he asked me the question, is the risk worth the reward? And I said, well, I think the risk is worth the reward. And he said, well, I disagree. They need to come down. I would say that individual lives in the county of Buckingham. He does not live in the town of Scottsville. So Buckingham County, I know the chief deputy over there very well. Buckingham County now is full of them. And I would question if I had the opportunity to ask that individual, well, have you been to the chief Sheriff Kidd's office to tell and demand that he take his flock cameras out of Buckingham County? And have you been to the Board of Supervisors to demand that they take the flock safety cameras out of their jurisdiction? Why are you here in our town asking us to take something away that's been very beneficial to our community for the past 12 months? But with that being said, I never had a chance to really ask that question of him, but I would ask that question. Why are you focused here on our little 4.5 square miles? Why not over in Buckingham County where you live? So first of all, to address the first 2 concerns he had, stopping the vehicle, gunpoint, cuffing, and then the chief. We have a very robust general order in place that governs our use of our flock safety cameras. As well as Virginia state law really lays out and mandates how we can use them, when we can use them, everything. Part of that process is our sergeant, my sergeant, every 30 days, does an audit of that system. And he looks at why the officers are using it, what are they using it for, and making sure that it complies with Virginia state law. I would say that our general order, our policy is, it meets standards, and I think it actually exceeds standards in a lot of different ways to help eliminate any of those first 2 things. First of all, if one of our officers receives an alert off of a flock camera system, they, instead of before they take any type of enforcement action, their number 1 job is to confirm it through NCIC visa, which is the national and state information systems where we get a lot of our information, criminal justice information. Second of all, is to confirm it with our dispatch before they take any type of enforcement action at all. And we confirm that and make sure that that's happening through our audits. Not only is my sergeant doing audits every 30 days, but I go in behind him and spot check as well. So it would take the town's police department just to be corrupt before any of that type of stuff, either your chief being corrupt or your sergeant and your chief being corrupt. I mean, that's a big leap in my mind from where we, where our police department's at today. I don't see that ever happen. Things could always change. There are always bad apples in every profession that's out here. Can't say that would never happen, but I can tell you it's not going to happen on my watch for sure. Being hacked, I guess, was his biggest concern. And I had to take the liberty to sit down and watch this video. And then I had to take the liberty of sitting through and reading that, how do you wanna say it, the gains, analysis of flock cameras and how they can be hacked and this type of thing. I looked at the video for less than a minute, and I read the white paper, and I had been in less than 5 minutes. And both of these individuals both say in the very beginning of their statements that the cameras that they have were obtained legally, they look like flock cameras, and they probably are flock cameras. But they will also say in their writing and their video that these cameras that they have are not the cameras deployed in the field. They are not the same hardware, software, any of the inner workings of the flock cameras are not the same. They don't have the flock cameras, safety systems, internal softwares and stuff. They don't have access to it. So for this person to come in here and say that this Gaines and this Jordan have the market cornered on flock camera safety cameras being hacked, it's just simply not true. Can they be hacked? I would argue that any piece of technology that we use today in this police department, my computer, my cell phone that I use probably every 30 minutes, my computer, I'm constantly on it for 10, 12 hours every day when I'm working. And so are our officers. These body cameras, our in-car cameras, all can be hacked. It's incumbent upon our vendors that we employ to give us the latest patches, updates to their technologies. And it's up to us, just like we do as a town, with our CJIS information, our criminal justice information, that we secure it to the best of our abilities. The data that we gather off of these flock safety cameras come in and they go to a cloud system. And had to have my sergeant sit down on 2 conference calls with flock safety. They're a company. Yes, they're out to make money. I get it. But we sit down and we talk to them about these very issues. Flock safety inadequate security standards. They talk about all of their compliance certifications, all of their CJIS certifications that they have to meet before they put this technology in the field to ensure that it's secure. Has flock safety been hacked? Flock's platform has never been hacked. Now, this is from flock safety folks to my sergeant, who put this fact sheet together so I could bring it to town council tonight and give you accurate information. Again, their platform, their cloud platform has never been hacked. Not today. Claim is possible. It is possible to hack Flock's cloud database. The fact is that it's not possible to hack Flock's cloud database in the Flock camera. Claim Flock does not require multi-factor authentication for users. They used to not, but I can tell you, anytime I get into Flock safety, I've got to log in with my credentials into the computer. And then I get a notification here, and I have to put this notification into that system before I can ever get into the system. So our officers are using that 2-factor authentication for our processes. Let's see, another claim. Flock does not update our hardware or migrate identify vulnerabilities in our hardware system. Flock publicly discloses identified vulnerabilities on a regular basis to the public vulnerability database. Foreign adversaries have access to the Flock safety system. There is zero evidence that any foreign actors have any access to the Flock safety system. Sit here, have my sergeant go through and put down what our system's been used for to date in the past 12 months. Missing persons, wanted persons, suspicious persons. Our system has been accessed 7 times for human trafficking cases across the state. 3 stalking cases, 94 missing or endangered persons searches. Albemarle County gave us a tag number of a vehicle that was being utilized by a juvenile that was in serious crisis, mental health crisis. Put that information, and they were supposedly, possibly headed towards the town of Scottsville. Put the information into our database in flock safety, and we were able to determine for Albemarle County that the juvenile was actually in Culpeper, not in Scottsville. And they were able to get the resources they needed up there in the Culpeper area and give that juvenile the necessary mental health assistance that person needed. Stolen vehicles coming through the town. We've used them for wanted persons, everything. More 9 child exploitation, pornography type cases, 14 runaways, weapons violations, robbery cases, stolen autos, narcotics investigations, and 3 pursuits. I mean, I can go on. It's not like our officers are going into flock safety and they're accessing tags willy-nilly. The law requires that before an officer can access flock safety, that they either have to have a call for service number or a report number. Have to, and it has to be entered into the system before you access it. If not, it's going to be flagged by me or the sergeant, and they will not use the system. It's a violation of the law, and it's a violation of our general orders. So with that, I will be happy to answer any questions that our council members might have. Anyone?
How many cameras do we have here?
We've got 4.
Oh,
We've got 4 cameras, sir.
Well, right here on the bridge, I think you said, but 2 of them on the bridge, so that's all I know.
Well, Buckingham has one on the other side of the bridge for sure. We have 2 down here in town, and we have 2 up here, going out of town, and on the other road going in and out of town. The grant, our contract is due up January. I've applied for the grant, but it's okay for me to say we're not going to use it. I think it's an opportunity for us to consider, do we want to continue with these cameras in the town, or do we get rid of it?
Chief, just, sorry to interrupt you there for a second, but I'm gonna speak a little bit. James Madison said when he was making the Constitution, or they were doing the Constitution, if men and women were angels who wouldn't need the Constitution. Now, if we as humans always did the best thing, we wouldn't need anything, wouldn't need you.
Right.
Be good to put you out of business.
Right.
But that's not the real world.
I could retire.
That's not the world that we live in. So we live in this tension between, and I understand people out there to say this to the citizens of the town, people out there that are rightly concerned about their privacy rights, they're rightly concerned about being falsely accused, they're rightly concerned about a lot of things. And there's reason for people to distrust institutions at times. At the same time, you have come with a very researched and well defended recognition for why we do what we do.
Yes, sir.
And I, correct me if I'm wrong about this, Chief. Is it true that in the event on July 4th, that was found through block cameras?
Partially. What we were able to do on July the 4th was, he's referencing 2 vehicles that tried to breach the parade route down here early that morning. We spotted them through our drone, but and encountered them by spotting them early and then sending officers, deputies out to encounter them and find out before they actually breached the security perimeter. What we were able to do after the fact, where did they come from and what was their intent? So we didn't have any information and didn't really give us a lot of information when the deputies and the officers encountered them, right, face to face. They gave us a story, right? But to try to confirm their story or not confirm their story, we put their tags into the flock safety system. And what we found was, see, they had both denied being or coming into the town of Scottsville together. two different license plates from two different states, those type of things. But what we were able to determine through flock safety is that the two individuals actually come in off Route 6 seconds behind each other. They were following each other. And they come down into the town of Scottsville, and they didn't come down Valley Street. They had our back streets. And once they get on to Harrison Street, they split up. One went down to the tavern lot and tried to breach the perimeter there. The other one come down Bird Street and actually tried to breach the perimeter on Bird Street. Fortunately, we had a police vehicle there. And then we had a police vehicle over at the tavern. The heavy equipment and we had some takeaways, right? For next year, we'll do that big parking lot a little bit different because they were able to get, in my opinion, a little deeper than I would like to have seen them get into that security perimeter. But with the intelligence that we were able to gain from our drones and our flock safety system, we were able to submit that information to the Virginia State Police Fusion Center and determine, and they've actually classified it as a potential terrorist attempt.
And so Chief, let me just say this, and I'm saying this to the town council. The chief and I have talked about this before. Hear what he just said. He just said something that, again, he and I talked about this a number of months ago, but the safety system that our police use, on the one hand, it might catch somebody who's speeding, might catch somebody who's had a burglary, a murder. You just use the word terrorism, and not unadvisedly. He used the word because that word actually might apply. And so what I'm saying is these cameras, the drones, the officers, ultimately, you as our chief of police are tasked with protecting the citizens of this town and a much larger community.
Yes, sir.
And we have a trust in you. I don't trust the cameras, I trust you. And that's and the people of Scottsville need to know that the flock cameras are a tool to aid our police to protect them. And this particular situation, the reason I've not talked about it much publicly before, but this was a significant threat to the town of Scottsville. We'll never know what could have happened. Thankfully, we never have to know. And we should be reminded with what just has happened in the world in the last couple of days.
Yes, sir.
That's happened in other places. This police that we have here has protected us. So Chief, I just want to say, I wish we didn't need the cameras. I'm thankful we have them. I'm thankful we have them because, not because of them, but because they're under your control and the control of officers and an imperfect system, but a system that tries to do the best that it can do. And so I'm simply saying to the citizens of Scottsville, please let us know your concerns. I know people will have concerns on these issues. They're valid concerns at the same time. I'm hopeful that we get the grant again next year because we need it. We need to use them. We want to use them. I would love other thoughts that you all have, but from
I
my
have a
perspective,
question
I'm thankful.
about just the logistics of it. You said there's two at the bridge and two at the.
I'm really not to say exactly where they're at.
Well, one of my questions is, you have one northbound and southbound, is that why you have two? Like you, at the bridge, you have one going north?
Or there's one in Buckingham County that I have no control over. They put it there.
But I mean, the range of it, does the one camera can it do both north and south?
Absolutely.
And two at the bridge, I just wonder why we don't have one at Route 6, east and west. We got north and south covered, but what about east and west?
I think that's covered,
Oh, that's okay.
Mr. Weston.
Because we
I
have
would, I would say this. That coming and going in the town of Scottsville, you're probably gonna have your license plate
Okay,
captured on
okay. One way, no matter which direction you come from.
east, west,
Okay.
north, south. I feel very confident
Okay.
that we have deployed our security cameras in a strategic enough place, and working with our business owners. To answer your question, or make a comment off of what you said, Dan, is I've talked to our business owners, I've talked to our residents in the town of Scottsville. I wouldn't have recommended flock safety cameras in the town of Scottsville. Number one, if I thought they were a breach of our trust for our residents and our business owners, number one, I'd have never done that. And number two, I would have never done it if I didn't think they were a valuable tool to help us do our job and keep our town safe. And have a person come here and make these allegations or these accusations while I'm not here. I guess I kind of took it a little personal. I just wish if people would have had a question about it, they would have come and they would have talked to me first, been happy to show them the system. We used it just this past week on a hit and run happened at the dollar store. You know, sometimes we get the tag, sometimes we don't get the tag. And the reason why is because they took a different route in. It's just the way it is. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna make a comment and I appreciate you as well. It's kind of hard to go after you, but I think that the only thing that would have made me feel better about it is if you had gotten some information from another source, like your information on debunking the hacking and all of that came from the camera company.
No. So that's not accurate. Number one, I did go to the source and I went to the person that come here and voiced his concern. And he gave me where he was getting his information from. So short of him giving me the information that he'd come here and he told council about, I was told that a council member asked, well, what was that website? You find it yourself. Well, that's not what I'm, your chief of police, gonna do. I'm gonna give it to you, and if you'd like to look at it, I'll be happy to share it with you.
Okay.
But I took my time and I watched that video and I heard that man talk.
Oh, I'm talking about the handwritten.
Well, I have to go to Flock, and as I said.
I know, I'm just saying,
Lots of
the only
business.
thing would have made me feel better as if, you know, there were other, I mean, obviously, you're talking about how state law mandates it. So, or your treatment of it. So that's a good point. I'm just saying that, you know, using their flyer on the.
It's not their flyer. We posed the questions that were posed by this person coming in here to council,
Okay,
their concerns.
okay,
The first two concerns, I can tell you, our policy doesn't allow. If an officer were to do what they've done and stopping someone on just a flop alert and not follow through, there's gonna be other action in that officer's near future.
yeah,
That's not gonna be pleasant because they didn't follow policy. And as far as a chief, stalking or harassing an ex-girlfriend,
happens,
I'm not saying it doesn't happen,
yeah.
but that's why we have a check and balance put in place, and that's why I created that administrative sergeant's position. Because our internal system, our internal affairs, though we're small, Sergeant Pistolga is my internal affairs person, and he keeps a check and making sure that our officers are abiding by policy. Use of force, citizen complaints, all of that stuff goes through him for a review and then comes to me for my review. So it's not biased against the officer, it's not biased against the community member or the citizens that's making the complaint, it's fair. And then I get to look at it and review it myself, and then I make a determination on what the next steps are.
Well,
So
I
I didn't-
appreciate you taking the time with that question.
I didn't put this together in a vacuum, but I did feel that because Flock Safety is the person and our vendor, that I get answers from them on what. Has the system ever been
How
hacked?
do you answer that, right?
I don't know if the system's been hacked or not. Can the system get hacked if we store our data in the cloud? Well, according to them, they say no.
You know, Chief, just to say this too, and this might sound like a trite thing, but I'm just gonna say this, so I'm saying things anyways. Probably the most enjoyable phone call that I made to you was when I was standing on a mountain in West Virginia. And another chief of police, a guy, I'm in the middle of nowhere, we're in West Virginia, and I really mean the middle of nowhere. And this other guy was looking around there, he said he was a chief of police from another town, he knew Chief Trout, and he knew you. So I said, well, let's just call Chief. So, and he's a chief of police out in another town. And anyways, part of it was for my own safety. Was this guy really? He's a good friend. He was a friend of yours. But my point is, I I trust you. And not only do I trust you, we trust you as a town, and we are entrusting our lives to you. And that's not a, humanly, you can only do what you can do. And I also appreciate what you said, if you don't mind me repeating, said, Dan, I would not forgive myself if I didn't do my best to make sure this town is safe.
Amen.
And that's what means the most to me.
And it means more to me than anything. We raised our family in this town. And my family still visits this town. I work in this town. And in the safety of this community, I guess that's why I felt, maybe it was kind of a little personal. Is because I brought flock safety to this town council and I recommended the system for the town. And I would never do anything to jeopardize the safety of this town, this community at all, ever. And I've talked to our residents in the town, and those that I've talked to, business owners, residents, non-residents, they all support the system in the town of Scottsville, every one of them. If you need me to come to a council meeting, I'm glad to come with you. Chief, you just let me know what you need. We support it, even support it so much that 2 private business owners have given us permission as a town and as a police department, to put the cameras on their property. And they absolutely did not have to do that.
I'm comfortable with the legal protections, and isolated cases don't outweigh the good that a system like this can do. And particularly in Scottsville, because we're at crossroads, and
Yes,
so
sir.
there's 3 counties that are gonna come through Scottsville. So strategically, this is where I would put a camera system for all that. Only question I really had, you said we're dependent upon the grant. What does it cost if we didn't get a grant?
12 grand.
12 grand a year? Okay. But we are covered on a grant for this year, hopefully. And who does the grant?
I do the grants
Well, I mean, like who pays for it? State police?
for their heat program. They
Okay.
pay for it. So I applied once the fiscal year started July 1st. I guess probably in August, I applied for the grant
Yeah. Okay.
again and have been approved for the grant.
Okay.
But because we're getting ready to move into that end of January cycle where I have to renew the grant, if council would remember back, they typically require a 2-year contract. I negotiated with Flock Safety for 1-year contracts just because of this particular reason. You know, I didn't want to lock us in for 2 years if council wasn't going to be happy, or our community wasn't going to be happy. So they let me sign a 1-year contract. That contract is due up in January, which I'm going to need to redo unless council has objection to it.
Do you need anything from us other than saying we don't have any objection?
No, sir, that's all I need. I felt obligated to make sure that any council member, the mayor had a question about these flock safety cameras, that I come here and address the questions and the concerns that anyone might have. And if there's ever a question about flock safety, I'll be happy to sit down and I'll be happy to show you the system, anytime.
I just want to remind y'all, we are elected officials for the town of Scottsville. And our job is to do the best I can fix it. I have 100% trust in the chief of police. If he feels that flock safety camera is good for the town of Scottsville, I agree with it. I don't wish anything bad upon any of us, our families, or the town of Scottsville members. If that flock camera saves one of our children from being kidnapped, or saves a child of Amber Alert, sometimes one little event, I think pays it off. I mean, I have 2 granddaughters. The thought of somebody trying to take them would really upset me, and I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody else's family here. So if someone that lives in our area feels like it's their rights or that's been violated, if that's the lifestyle they live, if they need to live over their shoulders, I'm sorry. The way I carry myself, I don't have to look over my shoulder or whatever. I can drive from here to there and not worry about a thing. So you can take a picture of my license plate every day. Doesn't bother me one bit. But if someone says that they feel like their license plate having a picture taken, or they feel like they're being watched by Big Brother or something, then that makes you question their character. And that's just my opinion.
License plates, nothing.
Nobody.
The phone is.
Nobody's ever questioned the cameras, the, what, 6 cameras, 5 cameras that we purchased off of the grant down there. We put them all around the police department and the old jail. They're 24/7.
privacy.
Videotaping everything coming in and out of the parking lot at the GoCo, the tavern, up and down North and East Main Streets. I mean, nobody's ever said anything.
It really does.
Shows all.
I just don't know if we're. I mean, did this person come to town to say about these cameras because of some sort of malice, or was it maybe just concerned about?
I wish I knew. I understand that the person was, he supposedly said he was invited to the meeting. I just wish if he was invited to the meeting, I would have been invited to the meeting. So I could have addressed this at the time.
Yeah, I don't know that I can. be-
Well, he did sit there and say, and please correct me if I'm wrong, he did sit there and say that he went to the tavern himself and he was able to access the flock camera himself on his laptop.
That's what he's saying.
That's illegal and he shouldn't have.
Yeah, that's
done
not,
that.
this is the same.
I believe if we go back and look at the video, you have one video saying it.
If I'm on, just for a second, this is the same individual that said here in maintenance. The morning that we had cupcake with the cop, this is the same person sitting in veins and started putting out on social media that ICE was in town and there was gonna be an ICE raid in the town of Scottsville. 2 of our community members, one that I've spoke to many times about ICE, and that we don't do that. I'm not an ICE officer, not our officers don't. We don't check people's status in the town of Scottsville. Not gonna do it while I'm chief here. So those members, community members, walked out of veins, walked down the street. Fortunately, one of the officers, 2 deputy sheriffs, 3 deputy sheriff cars, they weren't police officers, they were deputies, parked in the parking lot. Come across into the Lucky's parking lot. And one member said, hey, what's going on? Oh, well, we're doing cupcake with a cop this morning, you know, come over. And she's like, oh my God. Back up to Bange, you need to take that stuff down off of social media now. They're not doing no ICE, this is a cupcake with a cop event. That's the same guy that's in here talking to you folks about our flock safety camps. I just want to say, give you an idea. I've known the individual for a long time and him and I've been friends, but I can just tell you that I disagree with a lot of his ideas. And he's entitled to his ideas and I appreciate them. But I just want council to know that I would never do anything that would jeopardize the safety of this town or our community, ever.
I 100% acknowledge that. I mean,
So,
Thank you, Chief.
thank you.
well, so,
Just hold on just 1 minute, I'll wait for Mr. Hodges to get back in here.
Come on, Bill, we're waiting on you.
I don't think it would be out of order with, the committee made some kind of decision by January that we take a look at ICE to either authorize him to move forward with renewing this or he had not moved forward with renewing this. I think everybody's pretty much on the same wavelength, so if we can have a motion one way or the other.
I would like to move that we renew the flock cameras.
I'll second it.
Make a motion to support the chief 100%, we want, you got my back.
To move to second, any further discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Molly Angevine,
Yes.
Dan Gritsko,
Yes.
Bill Heisen,
Yes.
Walter Townsend,
Yeah.
Roger Whitman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, council. Mr. Mayor, I appreciate the time. I know I've taken up a lot of your evening.
That's all right, we had to get this thing straight. Appreciate all your research, all you do. Adam Town Administrator, item no.
All right, so the next item is, I'm proposing an internet technology and cybersecurity policy. Unless someone else has already worked on one previously, I'm not aware of it. So I'll put this policy together for you all to review. Over the past several months, I've been reviewing the VML best practices and the requirements from the Commonwealth and cyber liability insurance standards, and this policy that's in your packet aligns with those 3. There is something new, let's. It is reporting policy. Legal compliance, Virginia code requires all public bodies to report, cybersecurity incidents to the Virginia Fusion Intelligence Center within 24 hours. And this policy, formalizes that obligation. Also, this policy protects, tax information and, there's criminal liability if it is violated, so that it's clear also in this policy. There's public records protection. Gets into practical security, using multi-factor authentication. And I've been utilizing that and would like to roll that out completely for everyone. That policy formalizes and adds other key protections, device encryption, automatic screen lock, and phishing training. And then those steps could block 99% of common attacks. Insurance and risk, sometimes for the liability insurers now are requiring MFA, the multi-factor authentication and documented security policy. And the responsibility is shared by all council members, the mayor, staff, and board members. I don't know if you all had a chance to look through the policy, but another thing that is mentioned in here too is I'm proposing that personal devices be prohibited for town business after June 30th, 2026.
So are you all gonna provide devices?
Eventually, I would like to see that, yes, to control, you know, the internet and safety issues. If people can, you know, take their computer and go to the coffee shop or go, I don't know, to Starbucks, whatever, and get on the internet, and then you're allowing, you know, maybe you're not using, what am I trying to think?
VPN.
A VPN, thank you. If you don't use a VPN or something like that, then.
You're logged into the town's computer.
From here?
You're not logged into
Yeah.
the town's computers, you're just accessing, say, email over your own personal device. Why would you need a town device for that?
It is my understanding that it opens the door for,
Just going through Outlook the way we do it right now, using an iPad or your own personal
do
computer,
you
there's
use
no
the
threat.
VPN? I mean, are you
No.
talking about when you're at home?
When I'm at home, or if I'm using it at Baines, or if I'm using it anywhere, that is not coming back into the town. How is the town? I think,
Cause don't you use OneDrive with 365?
yeah,
You know, it's all.
I'm not no, I don't. You're not accessing anything with the town, on the computers of the town. I'm not sure where the threat has come in.
Okay,
I think a little research on, threat levels. I mean, cause that's a considerable expense.
Yeah.
Is that worth using personal
Well-
devices where we all gonna go get laptops paid for by Scottsville? Well, I just don't see the threat level reaching that, because you're not, I would advise anyone not to use your personal emails because of FOIA requests, and they'll come and get your,
right,
if you know, something happens, but I mean, just the way we use it right now, the cybersecurity is through Microsoft Outlook. Or through the
well, I think the
Outlook.
policy
whatever.
that is put in place, it talks about the use of VPNs,
If you were using your laptop down at Baines,
right?
I would highly recommend, and if that's a town laptop, I would highly recommend using a
Right,
VPN
yes.
for you. But if we're just coming in to use, you know, just dialing in for email or something, we're not accessing any sensitive financial records, any town databases, any, you know, that's not probably what we're doing. If we're using,
But there's more to the policy than just the, you know.
yeah, but in
the
personal
computer.
devices, I'm not sure I see the risk on that one. Plus the expense, that's not gonna.
Yeah, I agree with that all the way.
I'm really careful about it. I use an external hard drive for all business that is not my personal. I don't know if that is a good suggestion or not, but it gives an extra layer of security.
Maybe we could get advice from a tech person just to see.
I
just to
did
see if
get
this
advice
works.
from
But
a tech person.
I mean, I agree. I don't think, I could even get back with anything.
Well, yes, so I did get advice from a couple
Oh, you
different
did?
tech, yes, I don't just pull this out of the air. Yes, and I talked with the police department as well, because they have two officers that are their IT people, and ran it by the policy for them. But the other information in here is that, not to my knowledge, do we have a policy that would be applicable to the town employees. And that's what this policy talks about, that they're not to be looking at movies when they're at work, or they're, surfing the internet and things like that. And there's nothing in place, to my knowledge, that prohibits that.
One thing that I would say on this would be, first of all, I haven't studied this, but I do think there's wisdom. We have to figure out a balance. We have to figure out what we do for town staff versus those who are volunteering. And it's true that to some level, we want to make it easier for you as the town administrator to understand what other staff are doing, and I think it's helpful. So I do think looking at this is a helpful thing. Me personally, I'm gonna need to spend some more time looking at this, and it is an issue we want to think about. I don't know that necessarily the right answer how to do it, but I do think that the ability to address things ahead of time can help us avoid problems.
Right, yeah.
I think it's worth being really safe. I just think that the personal devices, not being able to use that to craft messages or, figure out what we're doing here would be really difficult.
So we as town council, we only access just the email portion. We don't go in to the actual town website. Everything we do is basically under the email side. So from my understanding, people who would have access to the actual town stuff to be.
Right.
What you're right. None of us can go into the town website and do any changes to it. As long as that people, I think that's good. I believe that we could keep it to a
There is
minimum.
that.
How many people should, I think that. I don't think that all of us being town council should be able to go in to the town system and make changes and stuff or whatever.
Well, and I think the other thing that I wanted to mention too, that Councilor Whitley just alluded to a minute ago, is that if you're using your own devices, just, I've been trying to say or recommend not to use your personal email and things like that for town business and your devices, because what happens is, if you're FOIA, and let's say you use your own personal cell phone, well, if you get FOIA, then
Everything I got an email address and open to the public.
But just accessing it through your iPad, they would subpoena the account, not your device.
They could subpoena the device depending on the case, but they're not gonna go to all that trouble. They're
Right.
just gonna ask you to identify all certain,
Right.
So if you use your personal email
That's a big,
for town business, you'll be subject to FOIA.
yeah.
You use the town email, you're subject to FOIA too, but you won't have your personal emails exposed.
Right.
And depending upon the case, you could have some lawyer get in, and want to see all your personal emails and this, and that, and the other, and spend the huge amounts of money dealing with that, but that's probably not likely.
I've heard from quite a few people, including myself, that accessing the town email has been difficult for them. I don't know any details, But if there are some problems with that, or if people are having problems with that, I would like to know if there's any IT people that we can talk to about that kind of stuff. Because there are so many Gmails out there that people are using. I know that when I was on planning commission, I asked Elizabeth about that, and that's, kind of when we started talking about that we want to keep everything on the emails because of the FOIA. So, I mean, if there are some problems that we need to fix, we don't have IT here, right?
We do not have a person that physically comes here, no, we
Okay.
do have an IT person that has been working on updating the computers here.
Mhm. I wanna reach out to these people and say, I know you're having trouble with it, but we can fix that. I don't know what kind of problems they're having, but I was surprised at how many people were making, because I was saying, no, you can't use your Gmail. You have to use your ORG email. And everybody was like, look, I can't do it because of this reason or that reason, and it led back to email. So just putting it out there, just so you're aware, but that might help to have somebody we can work with on those kinds of things.
I would suggest that we treat this like the noise ordinance. Use the holidays to read over, get familiar with it, jot down any notes, questions answered. We'll go over it again in a work session in January, and then if we need to vote on something, we can vote on it in January. All right, go on to number G, if you would, please.
For the rules of procedure update. We have a document from 2016. That's, I'm proposing to update. And I don't know if you had a chance to look at that.
I looked at the rules of procedure with the amendments that you proposed, and then the one you sent out to town council didn't have the little cheat sheet which showed
Right.
what was being amended.
Okay.
I want to, wait, I'm not.
So I've
everybody-
provided the cheat sheet,
I know,
it's
but I-
summary
I
of
better-
changes.
I read line by line, I looked at the old one, looked at the one, what I'd like to do is maybe postpone this until we get a better format. I really think everything that's new should be in red. And anything that's changing should be in red instead of, we got this little thing at the end about what's changing. You gotta go line by line, and there's some really, there's a couple of glaring things, not glaring, but difficult things right off the bat that I saw. One is, and from the old one and the new one too. Two, officers, right away it says president of the council, and then later on down to at meetings, it says vice mayor. So I think the terminology has to be he's either the president of the council, the vice mayor, or both, and say it. And the other thing is that B, that clerks and deputy clerks, it says designated clerk. So I assume you're the clerk. Elizabeth, are you the clerk?
No, I'm not.
Who's the clerk? Well, is a clerk a new position? And then we also talk about town administrator. So, I think these terms need to be defined. So I think it needs to be what's new in red, what's changed in red, and define what the clerk, who the president of the council and the vice mayor. Because I don't think we have them both. We have one or the other. So anyway, those are some of the things that I would like to see.
That was part of the changes that were made in 2020, is that right? To the charter.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's up there.
It's supposed to be vice mayor.
I think it is too, but here it says clerk.
That's okay.
So anyway, what's the clerk? And that needs to be defined. And do we even have a clerk?
We do have a clerk. She's just
You're the
not
clerk.
available.
You're
No,
the
I'm
clerk.
not the clerk.
No,
You're not.
our clerk is,
Oh, that was Melody?
does she do a lot of work?
she the clerk? I don't know.
She was.
Okay. Okay. But anyway, I just think that it'd be good to have one document that shows red that's changed. And, you know, so we can see what's new in this thing, what's different.
To answer you, there's a sheet of paper that shows summary of changes.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah,
procedure.
I thought that, yeah, I saw that. But I mean,
That shows all the changes
Right.
that I'm proposing for the 2016 document.
Right,
If you want to change other parts of the 2016 document, then I will
right,
do that.
I
But
just-
I wasn't trying to change everything. I was trying to
right, I
add.
understand that, it's just that it's hard to go back, look at an appendix like this and see what's, you gotta go back and forth. It just, I mean, the editing that I'm used to is like, okay, this is red, that's different. This is crossed out and that's different, and it's easy to read that way.
So you're concerned about the formatting and not necessarily the
Well,
information.
there was a comment too, that there was one that really. Let's see,
So do you have the sheet? Can I just go through the summary of the changes?
I'm not exactly sure where that is. Could you describe?
What Bill is saying is, I understand that he wants the traditional,
yeah,
proposed amended document
yeah,
format to be used. That is, the amended changes within the body of the order of the document itself, and they're outlined in underlined in some fashion, and the things that are being struck through or crossed through in red.
Okay.
And that's, I sympathize with that too, because when you go back and look at a mass of documents later, I have a tough time sorting
You have
out.
to do it yourself. Often.
yeah,
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 Mark up the document.
but the changes that have actually been proposed, if you look at them, are pretty elementary. There's nothing earth shaking about them. And basically when after you've had a chance to review it, when you get to it, you'll see what I'm talking about.
right,
This is a huge packet.
Yeah, and the summary of changes are pretty elementary, and they speak for themselves. I won't get into that. But there's a lot of them are typos and this, that, and the other, and changing words and that sort of thing. But it puts it in context. It's just that it's such a mass of paper that it becomes a daunting task.
yeah, right.
So I will provide that document, the old document, and then the changes that are redlined and marked out so you can see everything. But there are additional items in here that I would invite you to look at.
I was just gonna say that this sheet gives a lot of information. Why would you turn this down at all? And if you wanted to make a notation of a paragraph, even just a quick mark, would be helpful enough.
I clarified, for example, in section E, it talks about clarifying that council has 6 members. And the majority of the votes, added relevant town charter language for reference. Clarified expenditure authorization requirement. This was something that Jim had recommended in July of this year, so that's added, which is a really good point that he made, that it applies only to new expenditures and not to current fiscal year's approved budget. There is a new section, section I, that talks to guest speakers and presentations.
Okay, so.
Anyway, that's all I'll say about that.
Mayor, are you suggesting that it's like I should read this while I'm waiting for Samson, or like? Okay.
Just a question on one of them, it's not clearly listed, but you mentioned order of business, now this is new, a whole new area. So just for clarification, for any agenda item, it has to be 4 calendar days prior to the working meeting at which the agenda is to be set. So in other words, if we're having a work session, that would have to be, we would have to get with you by Wednesday ahead of that work session. Say that work session's on Monday, so you have to say, I want the agenda, say I want the agenda for like, say, Baptist or something like that. So I have to get you that by Wednesday. If I go there Friday and say, if we can't put that on the work session, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay,
And that is,
so that's kind of new, that's kind of, well,
it's not new.
well, it's not in this one, it's not in the other one, it's not in the old one.
It is,
Yeah, it is.
it is.
It is?
Yeah.
It's a law
No, it also.
that we have to,
What,
I,
what's happened is that your agenda has gotten compressed. What's happened is your procedures have gotten lax, I guess is a good word for it. And so the Port Town administrator doesn't, not to say the Port Town administrator, but she doesn't have time to
Well, I
prepare
understand that.
the background that you need for agenda items unless she has appropriate notice. That's one problem. That's an
I agree,
administrative problem. And then the second problem is that she has to get the agenda out X days before the work session, and that's the second problem. And that's where the 4 days requirement comes in.
Okay,
Mr. Hank.
and that.
okay, so that, okay,
Requirement from.
Yeah.
Right?
okay,
But it's a double-edged requirement,
okay.
and I would say it's something that's happened in just my experience, and some of you other members have been here a while too, help me out, it's kind of, before you used to have a bunch of lead time before receiving the agenda and then having time to study and then actually having the work session. Now it's all gotten compressed where everything comes in at the last moment. And that's
Yeah, that's a problem.
hard on you guys and Matt, and also it's very hard on the staff. If I'm saying the problem right, Elizabeth, speak up.
Yes, I agree. You are saying that, and I've been saying this same thing since I started in July about the Commonwealth of Virginia FOIA requirements and the days of notification. It's not just, I mean, it is, we are busy and it would be great if we had a week, but we don't have a week. It's, anyway.
And there's some leeway with that, I say that word leeway, because you're a town, you're not a town of 80,000 people or 8 million people, you're a town of 500 and some people, so you have that flexibility, if you will, in what you do, and none of you are professional town council members, you all have other occupations that you do. And some of you work for a living, all of you work for a living. Unless you're retired, and even some who are retired work for a living. So that's the dilemma. So what we're trying to come here with is a working procedure where you have time to get the documents ahead of time so that you can actually read them and also consult your constituents. And that's why the 4-day requirement is in there.
Yeah, I like that, that's all.
I mean,
Which
but
is- I want it to be
technically,
clear, but
that's what you've got to do to meet the FOIA requirements. Otherwise, you can't, you're gonna eventually get into problems now. Does that mean you're gonna get in a huge legal problem? No, of course not. But is it gonna potentially be a problem if don't pay attention to it? Yes, you should pay attention.
It could be that we have, instead of having the meetings, work session last Monday and then, this session that I have a week in between.
Right, I know it's not a lot
I
of
mean,
time.
that's something that
Amen.
you guys can decide on that. I don't know that ins and outs.
To break it up and have maybe 2 weeks in between, but that's hard to do. Maybe we can talk about that with this new meeting.
Okay, so this is another one, we'll move over to January. Right? Okay. Planning Commission appointments, Planning Commission appointment, Dan has served faithfully on the Planning Commission. When I spoke with, Miss Angie Vine earlier in this year, and she, said that she was not at that time particularly interested in tying up another Monday evening. I have since heard that her thoughts on that may have changed,
Absolutely.
and if, my suggestion is.
Dan was like,
If Wally is willing to be the council representative on the planning commission, and someone would like to make a motion to that effect, you can take care of it right now.
As I did before, I make a motion to appoint Molly, Councilor Andrew Vaughn to be the liaison for the planning commission, for the town council.
Your second,
Second.
any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, all I was gonna say is it's been an honor to serve on the planning commission. I've learned a lot and I've really come to appreciate the work of that. And I'm not just saying that, I actually have. I've been on the council a long time before I was on the planning commission, and planning commission has done a lot of really interesting things, and it's a really cool comp plan soon to come, and I am
this month.
happy to step aside and allow you to go on forward.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm so sorry for the delay. I'm happy to accept the appointment.
Yes, please go ahead.
So Molly would abstain from this vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Dan Grisco.
Can I vote? Yes.
Yeah.
What was the motion?
Sure.
motion, yes.
Appoint Molly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bill Tyson.
Sure.
Walter Townsend.
Yeah.
Roger Whitley.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, this is gonna
Well,
be,
thanks you guys for.
Don't think the day's getting off easy either, because we've got several things lined up to get in the car.
well, we still have an opening.
So we'll move on to the next brief.
That's-
What it was gonna be, that you all had picked somebody.
No, that's what I thought it was, because we don't have any, and nobody's put their name forward for that.
Planning commission.
Has there been?
The flags. Can that be put on the internet, or the bulletin board, there's an opening? We need a fifth member.
Okay. Move on to the brief reports, had the privilege of accompanying Mr. Payne and Chief Jenkins to the graduation of our newest police officer last week, Aaron Jacobson. And from the graduation, we all headed downtown Charlottesville, met up with the judge and got him sworn in while he was still fresh. He is on a special extra training, post academy training right now, where he was working Saturday night. And Saturday night had the honor of being a guest at the Volunteer Fire Department's annual holiday dinner. There's about 80 people there, a lot of good socializing and some a lot of awards for longevity and other aspects of the fire department's programs. They still need volunteers, and so if you know of anybody that may have an inkling to help out, pass that along. We had the Christmas tree lighting on the 6th. And this past Friday, I met with several of the Boys and Girls Club, advisory committee people, and we helped the children over there wrap Christmas trees with parents. That's always a lot of fun. That's the brief mayor's report. Oh, yeah, the county clerk, Dan has been talking to Scottsville Elementary School, and some of you that have been up here before for some time, remember when a few years ago, they brought a group of third graders down to let council people explain how town government works, and that's tentatively scheduled for January 21st, a Wednesday, probably about 10 o'clock in the morning.
They were amazing. We had a mock Jenkins and, you know.
That's what they on the calendars, but if you're available that morning, we end up putting some of them up here and they make the motion to vote on something, it's just sort of a whole lot of project.
Exactly, 21st.
Somebody points to change.
Oh, okay.
You have any other brief report you can use as town administrator update if needed?
Well, I don't know about brief, I'll talk really fast and hit the highlights. So I believe I provided a copy of the administrator's report, so you all can read through that. Just really quick, meals tax enforcement and collections. Whitney has been very helpful in producing a document that she put together. That we can now track the taxes that are collected for food. And it shows us very easily who is delinquent. We have sent out letters this past week to different business owners that owe money. I won't go into exactly the amount.
Is willing to do some collections. Over there.
So
Well, they want to like say that.
Counselor Townsend had asked earlier in the meeting about the fees that would be involved, the late fees, and there are late fees that are involved for this. I had examples of, yes,
People was like, it was 10% on the first month.
yep.
10%
10%.
of your cost on the first month, and then the second, third, and fourth month is at 5%,
Yes.
and it cannot exceed 25%.
Yeah, so that is the meals tax report. I don't know if you all want me to send you a copy of these. I just printed out like a 1 month delinquent letter and then 2+ months delinquent letter.
Let's just put them in a folder and have them in the office available for,
Okay, and this is just the general one. When I do send them out, it has the business name and information
we
on
have a
there.
procedure for taking them to court.
I'm sorry.
We have a procedure for taking them to delinquents.
I
I'm told.
don't know, do we?
Let's see if we did. See if we did. When I worked in Richmond, we had a series of 5 letters, hey, you're a little late, you're later. Better get this taken care of.
Yeah.
You're going to court, let's go to court,
Well,
judgment.
it's substantial, in my opinion, of the items or the businesses that are missing. Thank
Well,
you.
maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea for, I know one of our people now is 5 months delinquent. Why don't the town go ahead and put a thing that in writing and say that once you hit the 6 month delinquent, you're automatically going to court,
Yeah.
regardless.
That's not a bad idea.
I think 3 months was a little excessive myself, but I don't run a business, but
Do you know if you can wait something like that?
You can go to court if you want. All that's gonna do is get you done. You're gonna have to use some collection techniques. Do you know check numbers for these people and that sort of thing?
Check numbers.
We need more staff.
You're gonna have to call in the people and ask.
That's a
for
lot of
information.
us to do collection.
Collection, so procedures you can.
The chicken in that bag. Operations.
so
Collection procedure.
you have to do a notification, right? Let them know that they need to. And
Well,
then, like you said, at certain dates, we're going to court over it. After you go to court, then what happens then?
then you get a piece of paper that says you have a judgment.
Yeah,
No money yet, okay?
so it's still not.
So you still don't have any money. So the tax collection is an art.
But it
Go
does,
to the IRS by how they do it.
put a blot on their credit.
Well, it does, but that's, that's,
Have you ever had a judgment against you? Well, yeah.
Hey, my bad.
it doesn't get you the money. Your problem is you want to get the money.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to use some of the procedures you use when this problem arose back in the winter, spring of this year.
Yeah, I thought the Mexican restaurant, they called up.
It did,
Obviously, they're behind again.
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they're charging, for my receipt the other day, they're only charging 6% meals tax.
It's so.
You have to go talk to them.
There's no such kind of gratification of license to kind of, if we have open business license, they can't open up, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, but is that what we want?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem.
I mean, you know, it's just,
I think going to.
I mean, what happens when you don't pay the power, the second power, so,
Yeah.
and then that's what you pay the fee.
Yeah.
All right, we've already had a citizen comment period, I don't really think we need to go back through that, council member reports. Mr. Briscoe, what was your last? report?
That's what I was talking about, tax information.
Last planning commission.
I mean, you don't want them to go in the dark and handle them.
The
Absolutely.
comprehensive plan, and there was discussion about what just happened. And I think that's also the most exciting thing. You're gonna see really good reports. I will say this again, I'm gonna say this in defense of what's coming. Lincoln has done an amazing job, and we're just thrilled to see what he's doing, and it's soon to be finished.
And contrary to some belief, he is not in charge of any kind of timeline. It's up to the planning commission to do that. And so this is not anything that should be reflected on him. He's been doing work for us for free for a really long time. And he is so knowledgeable about what he does. And I would like to propose that we put together something to give him monetarily. I know we don't have anything, you know, I don't know if we have anything sitting up in the budget that would suffice, but.
What are we talking about?
Give a plaque or something.
So Lincoln, he is the one who does the information about the comp plan. He's a PhD student he's a kind of a non-traditional student who works also with towns all over the world. And so he has been, I mean, anytime I want to talk to him, he's available. So I just wanted to put it out there. Maybe I can give that agenda item to Elizabeth for January, or when it is we meet next.
Just going back, an old issue, we talked about this last year, is the draft ready to be presented?
Yeah.
Put online, so we're gonna be able to start looking.
Yes.
Okay, well,
Oh, you had access to it.
I did, but I've never really had it, I mean.
Yeah.
No, not since the first time I saw it, and then people didn't like the fact that I got ahead of it. But it's gonna be online, it's gonna be, we're all gonna be able to see it soon.
Absolutely.
Right,
Yes.
send it to us,
No, I appreciate that.
send it to us.
But we will when we have approved it ourselves within the meeting in January. It's done.
I gotta put it on.
We're gonna just put it on.
Yeah. All right, the government services, I sent the minutes, but I thought I'd go over them a little bit for those who didn't read the minutes or don't care about the minutes for government services, but, the first thing is, maybe we could do this on the work session is to, and we went over a little bit, have some written guidelines for the Caldwell Fund. And you know, the Caldwell Fund, I'm confused about what it is, how much we have and what are the stipulations. So is it a bank? Is it a loan? Can it be given? And so we came up with some ideas about that, but I think it should be, I think it ought to be on paper about what the Caldwell Fund is, how it's used. And from what I understand, it's mostly been an interest-free loan. But if that's what it is, then we just need to say that's what it is. But I actually think it should be an emergency fund too. But anyway, that's one of the things we could maybe do with the work session. The second thing the government service recommended is, since we're going to be starting the budget, the annual budget, is that we actually have real numbers, actual expenditures for the last year, instead of just projected or planned in ballpark figures. So we could actually plan the budget and see how much money the town has. The next thing was with the levy, and I guess this might be you, maybe get a second bid on the levy. Tim Carr said we could break it up, the levy expenses, instead of 80,000, we could probably do 40 or 50. The first year, just do the levy, and then the pump house the second year, but maybe get a second bid and what it's worth. And along with the levy, it's recommended that when I think Elizabeth's already doing this, is a follow-up with Albemarle and see if they can, and it sounds like they might be able to help us more than giving our 20,000 a year for the levy. So to get starting their budget for next year, and maybe she really got good documentation already, so maybe they can give us more money for the levy. That would help us, because looks like the $100,000 we'll need over the next year or two. So working with Albemarle, kind of getting on them about that. Then the last, well, two other things. The other thing is maybe this should be a work session item sometimes too, about how to do the farmers market. If we want to do it like we did before, or to let them take over, or how's going to do that? Do we need to hire somebody, or can they just do it themselves? And then the last thing, and we came up with a list of maintenance projects, and there's a lot of maintenance projects. But it would be good to have a monthly update of maintenance projects, so that we could weigh in on it and maybe help, maybe get volunteers too. But there's a lot of maintenance projects, and I think there's been a lot more maintenance done this winter than there was last year. So, but I think it's just I just think there needs to be more communication about maintenance regularly, because I notice all the time that the maintenance issues in town. And we could get some volunteers to do some things, but
What's your number one?
the number one maintenance project, I would think that Canal Basin Square. I think that'd be fine. And then after that, then farmers market, sealing of all those posts and stuff like that, getting the bathrooms in shape. Canal Basin Square, particularly, we got, by the way, I guess, I don't know if you saw, but we got new hogsheads. We got brand new hogshead. I'm not sure how much they cost, but they need to be sealed. And they probably need to be, they're covered right now, but they need to be sealed and with oil-based stain or paint and protected, so they don't end up like the other ones. I think so. I list a bunch of them that a lot of the citizens have voiced, but I would think the main one would be the three major areas: so Canal Basin Square and
So Canal
the
Basin.
park needs work too, but the park's been on hold for forever. So we're frankly we could wait for the road for that. That would be my first one. That was the road, so you could actually get down to the dock. But that's mine. I think the town, the two Canal Basin Square, and
So could you tell me what a hogs had?
oh, it's huge barrels.
Oh,
Huge barrels.
okay.
We got two of them from the Bateau company.
Okay.
And I think that, well, they made them or they got them, but they need scanning.
Yeah. And I know
They get rid of the old ones. We got the old ones that are all beaten up.
yeah, there was concern about the plantings too, I guess.
Yeah, that's all that issue. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get it up to what it was.
I just was curious what you.
Oh, yeah, those would be my two, but everybody else might have other ones, but I think those are pretty important to me, I think.
Thank you.
But it'd be good for everybody to kind of look through the town and see what they think needs to be done. There's a lot of small things,
Well, that's why we need two people doing it. But we can't do it. It's not a perfect world, so we can't do that.
The town administrator and I met the other day with is Tuckerham, is it? The lady with quite like dark skies.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Christina.
she is interested in getting some of her friends to tend to those beds out in front of Canal. She's great.
Wildflowers.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Well, they have done some native plants down there.
Yeah,
but
she's
I don't
gonna
think
do
they did very
that.
well.
Yeah.
So she got that all on her schedule.
That'd be good. Well, talking to George, he thought there was supposed to be bushes out there, but I don't know if we need to go back to bushes, but if there are plants down there, that'd be fine as long as they're taken care of.
Any questions for Mr. Heisen? Mr. Townsend?
We will be meeting later on this month And hopefully by January, I'll be able to have a update where we are with the new town emergency policy.
Yeah, your name was mentioned, and you didn't, but the committee was acknowledged as being in existence. So,
There you go. Well, very cool.
Mr. Whitley, anything?
2025 events are in the books, 2026 planning has started.
All right.
Things such as the Canal Basin Square, the organizers are wanting to put it on again for next year. And so booking of bands, sponsors are lining up. There's a lot of activity with, or participation from those folks. And so if there's any objections, they want to know now. But it seemed like it was a great success for the town,
Yeah.
probably brought in money and revenue, certainly brought in tourism and were well attended. And it fed on into the Halloween and even into the Christmas celebration. So
Yeah,
that starts
I
now.
think it's amazing.
I have a chamber board meeting in the morning, so I'll send
Yes.
those people.
Jackie is one of them with the chamber, yes, and all that. So then it's just a matter of knowing how the mechanisms work. I think last year the sponsors wrote checks to the town as sort of a pass through to then draw off of. I think they want to change that a little bit. But Jackie and the chamber will know more about that. But they want to continue that on the next year since it was such a success.
Oh, yeah, that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I think that was a win for the town.
Yeah. And they're gonna still do the same schedule next year, kind of?
I believe last Friday's May through September, and then particularly because Halloween will be on a Saturday this year. They'll plan some special events for that.
Right. I think that's fun.
And then of course Christmas was a big to do also.
Yeah.
Good stuff. That's all I got.
Excellent.
And there was an email that Jackie sent to you and I. That if you saw it, and had time to read it, so if she had any questions, I don't think she had any questions. I think she was just alerting us to what was going to be done. So
I'll report.
I know emails get lost.
The town attorney was unceremoniously left off of the list of people to make comments. Do you have anything you'd like to talk about this evening?
I'm glad you got finally got a budget, okay, I mean, a financial report, that's important, and some members have mentioned that before. And that's really crucially important for the people. And the reason that you've had delay is that you've had a personnel deficiency in the town administrator's office, which you're all familiar with. But it really is absolutely crucial that you keep the budget information up to date, and it be done, if at all possible, on a monthly basis, so you can keep on top of things. One example of that is your sales tax revenues are down. And Scottsville has a fairly complicated sales tax situation because it all flows through the county of Albemarle. And Scottsville then relies on other people to make sure it gets its fair share. And a number of years ago, how long has it been, Mr. Mayor?
What, 3, 4, 5?
3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, you had a problem with getting your share of the sales tax revenue for sales in the town of Scottsville. So and the problem arises not through any sort of gross negligence, just because of the nature of the situation, that you've got a town and you're an oversight on the part of the people that make the allocation decisions. So you want to keep a close attention of that sales tax revenue, because I notice it's down. And the only way to do that is to get regular reports on it. And the problem with dealing with it is not all that difficult, because you can tell that money came from within the town limits, it's the towns, and if it came outside the town limits, it's the counties. But sorting that out takes a good period of time. That's the dilemma that you.
You all have access to the system that Kathy looks all now? Are you able to monitor that
Well,
during the month?
you get your sales tax receipts, you know what they are, and if you see your business sales are still robust, and or what they're supposed to be in the ballpark, and there's not any other explanation as to why you're suddenly not getting your sales tax.
Yeah,
Thing.
you're just wondering about actuals, you
You
know.
need to check on that. Another problem that arises is that you get revenue from the clerk's office, from wards and whatever, and the chief talked about that there's a procedure where you identify the town of Scottsville as the source of the criminal or the warrant that's been given, speeding ticket or whatever. But then the allocation of the money is not done by the town, it's done by the state and the county. And so sometimes the town of Scottsville gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, and that's why I was just thinking.
Yeah,
that
so you have
it's
to
nice
keep
be
a
able to
close
monitor
eye.
that. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But I don't know why the sales tax revenue is down, but you want to keep an eye on it, say that.
Well, we have more vacancies right now, don't we, in the town?
Where the bait and tackle shop that was over there, that's the only empty storefront on that side.
Online, it says 2 storefronts
They may be
in that
talking
same
about-
place. I don't know.
At the shopping center, there's a few.
Okay,
We're gonna eliminate this closed session on the agenda, and here's the reason why. I think if this is I'm correct in what I'm thinking here. There was a disagreement or a spat or whatever you wanna call it between a couple of people involved in town government. And this call for a closed session with legal counsel and what we. Mr. Bowling is the town attorney. He's not our individual attorneys. He's great for pointing you in the right direction to get a answer to a question or to find something to look it up. He can cite chapter and verse and know probably what page it's on in the code book. But he has one client here in town, and that is the town of Scottsville. He does not represent the administrator, any of us up here, and not on the board of the commission. So we're all adults. If you have a disagreement with somebody, try to work it out, but don't expect mediation through our legal counsel because we are not his client. The town is his client. Does that make sense? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, the request for closed session had 2 items in there.
So we need to have one for that other item too.
Well, we can't have consultation with legal counsel because he doesn't represent.
Well, no, that's not correct. What was advertised on the agenda, Elizabeth?
Motion to convene closed session pursuant to Virginia Code for the discussion and consideration of the performance and conduct of a specific public officer, namely a member of town council. And for consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice.
Well, what's the legal matter? You want to talk about it now? You can talk about how it works. Yeah. That's what you want. That what you want to do.
An update, yeah.
It's an update on the town clerk situation.
Okay,
Let's do that.
well, that's different, but. So, we're gonna be going into closed session and we'll let the audience have opportunity to leave the chamber. You have to.
Who wants to read?
I'll read
And it's been pointed out that
where,
the. Votes want-
right there, all right, all that,
Let me see.
I'll read it all. Everybody reads, not that, section, all right.
And then this, the meal tax, apparently you can't go home with it. You can't go home with it.
So that-
Another thing is, maybe check it, what's the medication for video?
Well, thank you.
I mean, what's the point of it? Now, like, they might get people to do it, like, they'll pay for it.
I need your meals tax, meals tax discussion, apparently it's not good to go home.
Oh, yeah.
That's serious.
Meals tax.
And then what's going on? Is that quiet, Terry? Huh? Yeah. It's not this.
So you think we gotta get the administrative report, that's true.
All right.
Can I start reading?
Yes.
Madam, Mr. Mayor, I move that the Scottsville Town Council convene in closed session pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711, A7 and A8 for consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff and outside investigators pertaining to specific legal matters and probable litigation related to historical purchasing and financial controls. Such consultation and open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the town. The matters to be discussed are limited to the personnel and legal investigative topics just described.
Well, it also addresses the town clerk situation, that needs to be stated.
Is the, computer turned off?
I second.
We still, well, we haven't gone
We have
into
to vote
closed
on the
session.
closed session. and then
Oh,
go
okay.
into the-
I said.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Turn.
Aye.
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 We're in closed session.
I would say indoors.
That turned on.